Adding Nick's favorite, the Bake Show.
Oh, yeah. Let's do it.
Okay.
Motivate
That's
him.
fair.
So here it
That's
is.
fair.
10 touchdowns, 6 picks over the last 4 games. So that's problematic. They lost this last game. Okay, now this team's been streaky. So prior to that, they'd won 4 in a row. Okay, prior to that, they had lost 4 in a row. So is this the start of another losing streak this past game? Okay, now they're going into a situation where they haven't been very good at home. They're 3-4 at home. They're facing the Carolina Panthers. So they've got Carolina and New Orleans the next 2 games, 9-21 combined. But the Carolina Panthers, also now known as the Carolina Reapers, when you lose to them, people change addresses. Okay, they got an assistant coach fired. They got a head coach fired. They got a quarterback benched. They sent the whole team home. Carolina's coming. Carolina's coming, just like last game. If Chuba Hubbard didn't fumble, they would have won that. So there's all those elements for Baker. But let's look at one of my favorite statistics, and I know it's Kevin's too. Can we pull that up here? This is what else he has.
Money.
Money.
Love it.
So he's currently 3rd. He's got to be top 10, worth 500
Good.
grand. He's 8th, needs to be top 10, 500 grand. He's got $1 million locked up. Okay, his passer rating 103. He's 6th. He's got to be top 5, so he's got $500,000 sitting there for that.
That's big.
So he's got all those, you know, that nice Christmas holiday money that he could lock up over the next 2 weeks.
The
So
yards per pass stresses me out a little bit.
It should all
Yeah,
stress
well,
you
this is a
out.
little screen pass. Like, are you sure?
And it's one of those things where
love
they're
that
going to have to
case.
run the ball a lot, and so these passing
Yeah.
stats could be in trouble, but he might be thinking it's $1.5 million.
I like that. I like that. And Baker's gotten a lot of love this year, deservedly, but finish the job. Finish the job.
I mean, he's got another $5 million incentives in the postseason, so
Yeah. Oh, that's a good one, too.
All right, let's talk about this. Baker Mayfield, Tampa Bay Bucs, needing to get the job done. First off, if he says they're going to pass the ball a lot, then those numbers aren't at risk because he'll be doing less. And so his numbers, if he had to throw a ton, then you could say that his completion percentage could go down. His yards per pass could go down because he's going to have more, just whatever. So, as well as his passer rating. So, if anything, if they run the ball and he just plays one of those more low-key games, he could easily have like a 70% completion percentage, 9 yards per pass, and a passer rating of like a 115 or something. We've seen that stat line a million times this season. Usually the numbers go down when you got to throw the ball like 35, 40 times. But anyway, Bake Show needs to get his dough. Yeah. The Buccaneers have had themselves a season, man. They have definitely been on this roller coaster ride of a season where going into the season, a lot of people did not believe in them. I made videos in the past. Vegas had them at like the 3rd worst odds just to make the playoffs. And this division as a whole, a lot of people believed in the Atlanta Falcons. And the Atlanta Falcons get off to a pretty wonky start, and the Saints just erupt, and everyone's like, oh my god, the Saints, what's going on? Then they deal with injuries and they come back down to earth, and even worse, especially with their injuries. And the Falcons come back down to earth, and now they're dealing with like an old quarterback where they're like, oh my god, we're gonna have to move on from him. And the Bucs take over, but then the Bucs get devastated with injuries, losing all their pieces, and yet they're still able to fight, and they're almost beat the Chiefs. They have a lot of these like almost wins, and even in terms of their resume, they beat the Lions. They beat the Eagles, the 2 teams that people had at the top of the list. And they're winning these games. And then now they're going up against the Dallas Cowboys, and it's like, we're going against Cooper Rush, let's go. And then you get some like bizarre, like an insane interception and a bizarre fumble. One where it's just kind of like just ripped out from him, and the one interception was like, I still don't know if that was skill or just sheer luck, honestly. I mean, it was just kind of some craziness that happened. And some backup quarterback magic that we've, seen for decades in the NFL. And now it's like, at 1 minute, you had someone like Colin Cowherd saying the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are like the most dangerous team in the NFL. Nobody wants to face them in the playoffs and all of this. And then now that kind of has lost some steam. And now the Falcons are back in charge of winning that. I think if they both just win out, then the Falcons are in the playoffs, not the Bucs. So the Bucs obviously need to win, and they got the schedule laid out before them, right? Like it's right there for them to kind of get those wins. And so I do think that there's going to be a lot of pressure on Baker, but not in a way that's like the type of pressure that like he can't handle or that you're going to question or this or that. Like it's hard for me to imagine in this type of situation that Baker will put the Tampa Bay and the Buccaneers, will put them in a position to lose the game, quite frankly. I mean, do you need him to be a hero to win these games? You really shouldn't. You really shouldn't. But yeah, the Panthers have definitely been a different team. The Panthers have definitely, for the last, like, I don't even know, honestly, for the last, like, month or so, ever since Bryce Young kind of got this, like, new energy to him, the Panthers have not been a team that, like, deserved to be getting 7.5 points. Like, they just hasn't been what it's felt like. Again, they went to the wire with the Chiefs. They went to the wire with the Eagles. Like, both games that they absolutely could have won. So, it's not like I think that this game will necessarily be a walk in the park. But I do think this is one of those weird situations where if they win a close game, you can kind of say, yeah, that was a good win. They took care of business. Panthers have been feisty. Let's go. But if they blow out the Panthers or beat them very convincingly, you can't be like, that was a big win. They beat them 35-7. You would be like, it's just the Panthers. Like, that is the problem when you're going up against an inconsistent team. Like, it's asymmetrical, and it's a weird one. You know, you're not going to look at the Chiefs who beat the Panthers and be like, that was a good, close, tight win. You're like, nah, man, you're the Chiefs. You should have beat them much more convincingly than that. So it's like it's a moving target, honestly. But there's a lot at stake, obviously, for the Buccaneers. Their whole season is there, and it's just fascinating when you look at some of these rankings for Baker and considering his completion percentage, his yards per pass, his passer rating, like the fact that he's been able to keep up and do this all and kind of really help carry the Bucs with a less than stellar roster, especially from an injury perspective, has been wildly, wildly impressive. And he's in a position to continue that story, to continue that trend, to continue that momentum. And I think if they were able to find themselves in the playoffs off of these 2 wins and having the Falcons kind of slip up, like, it would be a tremendous boost. And then you can kind of explain a couple of their recent losses or a couple of their, Baker's kind of more lower moments, like what was it, 10 touchdowns to 6 interceptions. You can kind of explain that away. You can really kind of just totally throw that to the side and be like, yeah, whatever, man. Can't play perfect football. I'm not perfect. What do you want from me? Of course I'm going to throw some interceptions here and there. Like you could just throw it to the side. And you would still carry a tremendous amount of momentum going into the playoffs. And it won't be like, oh, man, we just squeaked on by. We only got there because the Falcons lost with a rookie quarterback and because the Saints are awful and the Panthers are awful. Like, it's not going to have that feeling. There's times that a team like this gets into the playoffs and it doesn't really feel like that they, like, deserve. It's just like, man, that division's awful. Everyone's awful. Everyone's injured. This team's not good. Who cares? Right? And that's when people usually complain that team shouldn't even have a home field. They shouldn't even get a home playoff game. This is ridiculous. To me, that won't be what the Buccaneers would be, especially if Baker Mayfield's playing like we're seeing with these ranks here, as long as he kind of continues that momentum. So, yeah, I don't anticipate these games being the most exciting games, unfortunately, just because of where the Panthers are at in their season and where the Saints are and just the level of play that they're capable of doing. But I do think it's going to be interesting to see how the Bucs individually play, what type of energy they bring, and kind of, if there is kind of a more of a course correction for the Buccaneers and if they can kind of reintegrate in a way that has what made them their brand of special throughout the season. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Baker Mayfield? Do you think that there's really much of a risk that the Bucs could actually kind of lose this game, or that Baker will kind of continue what Mangini is saying is that they're kind of at risk for potentially like a little bit of a losing streak because they've been a little streaky? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me. Either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We're building an amazing community here, and I absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're on our way to doing it. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much, and see you next time.